Only 300,000.
I'm just saying if we're
Bugger that.
If it was like, if it was a week, I could do that shit.
If it's not 999,000.
I'm so annoying. Those spirits would be like, get out.
Yes, you are.
Just fucking leave. We don't want any part of you here. Everybody, welcome to BYOB, the Bring Your Own Book podcast. I'm Nikki.
And I'm Kelly.
And today we are talking about The Spite House by Johnny Compton. This is our Halloween extra episode for all of you.
Ooh.
I know, right? I feel like we don't do a lot of horror books on this channel.
No.
We're not really about scary books here. I mean, I'm about scary books personally, but we have two very special guests with us today. We have Scott, Kelly's husband, who you've seen before through Blood and Ash.
Hello, everybody.
And we have a new guest, my partner, Bryce. This is his first time on the show.
It's exciting and terrifying at the same time.
It's going to be so good, though.
I hope so.
He's also not a fan of scary books.
No, I got scared.
Yay!
So I think it's like double good that you're here.
I got a little bit scared, had a little bit of a cry. It was all good. It's okay.
Good.
I was going to say nobody knows, but now we all know, so it's okay.
Yep. No, it's okay.
It's okay. Real men cry, you know?
Yes.
Before we get into our thoughts and feelings and our ratings, Kelly is going to read us the synopsis so we all know what we're going to be talking about here.
Eric Ross is on the run from a mysterious past with his two daughters in tow. When he comes across a strange ad for the Masson House in Degener, Texas, Eric thinks they may have finally caught a lucky break. The most haunted place in Texas needs a caretaker. All they need to do is stay in the house and keep a detailed record of everything that happens there, provided the house's horrors don't drive them all mad like the caretakers before them. The job calls to Eric, not just because there's a huge potential payout, but because he needs access to the secrets of the Spite House. If it is indeed haunted, maybe it will help him understand the uncanny power that clings to his family, driving them from town to town, too afraid to stop running. Dun, dun, dun!
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. So, let's start with... Okay, let's do Scott, because he's a guest, but he's been on before. Scott...
Already
Nothing,
feelings
apparently.
hurt.
I just meant... So we don't just put you on the spot right away, you know? We have like a
Yeah.
little warm-up for you. Scott, your rating out of 5. What are your overall thoughts and feelings about this? Because you like horror.
I do. I'm a big horror fan, but mostly horror movies, not horror books. I've read a little bit of Stephen King, but not a whole lot. But I enjoyed the book. I'd say probably around a 3 is what I would give it. It was kind of cool. Like the setting was in Texas, and I spent a little bit of time living in Texas in high school, so that was kind of cool. Actually, the author is from the same city that I spent some time down there. He's from San Antonio, so I thought that was kind of neat.
Cool.
Cool.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed it. Like, I didn't find it super spooky, but I thought the author did a pretty good job kind of presenting like a mystery for you, and then not giving you like the least amount of information so you were like invested, but not enough where everything was like spoiled right away. So it was cool.
Right. That's awesome. What about you, Bryce?
I think I would probably agree. I'd give it a 3 out of 5. I don't really love spooky books, but I do have to admit, especially in the first, I don't know, half of the book, 3/4 of the book, I did actually get not scared, but there was like full suspense behind it, and I thought that was really cool. But I found after about the 3/4 mark, it kind of fizzled out for me. The scare factor and everything kind of dipped down, and it went like a completely different route than I thought it was gonna go.
Right.
Like, and I didn't love the ending.
Right.
Okay.
The ending was
Yeah.
not my favorite part. I felt like there were a lot of things that were just kind of left untouched.
Yeah. I think that might be the general consensus. Kelly, why don't you tell us what you thought? What's your rating? Is it a 3?
No, it's a 3.5. 3.5. So
3.5.
I too am not a big horror fan. I like some of the vibes of certain spooky things, but I'm definitely more likely to read a scary book than to watch a scary movie. I am a self-proclaimed chicken. Always have been. Always will
Team
be.
Kelly.
Thank you. So I gave it a 3.5 because I don't think I really felt that scared, honestly, through the whole book. It was more just like suspense, like what's going to happen next. I don't understand what's happening. I had a lot of questions throughout the book. And like you mentioned, Bryce, I had questions still at the end of the book. And I know that we're not always going to get everything wrapped up neatly in a nice little bow. But I was like, I have questions. I have too many questions.
Bow would have been okay.
Yeah, like I just, like we're going to get there. But I was like, I am confused. I listened to the book mainly with Scott on a road trip. So he kind of like read it twice almost. And I was like looking at him like, wait. Did I miss something? What happened? I don't know. So, but when we've read Grady Hendrix for the podcast before, I was legitimately scared during some of those parts when I was reading it.
Oh, yeah.
This book, I was more like, oh, what's going to happen next? But I wasn't scared really. So I'm giving it a 3.5 because I kind of felt like it was more a suspenseful thriller with horror elements.
Yeah.
Really. What about you,
like
Nikki?
A paranormal thriller.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also give this book 3.5.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, I think just kind of exactly what everybody else said. I'm not gonna say it all again. The ending was weak for me. The first half of the book was fun in the way that you didn't really know what was going on. So you were kind of flipping from chapter to chapter, being like, oh my God, am I going to get a new piece of information? I feel like the sheer amount of perspective you got in this book was a huge detriment to it in the end, because we were just getting piecemeal from everybody they were all in different places. But yeah, I think we're all kind of in agreement. It'll be nice to dive a little bit more into what, like, specifics, I guess. I don't know, like, I feel like because it's a horror, it makes more sense to kind of talk, like, chronologically through the book rather than jump to the end, but we're not good at that. We always talk about the end first. It doesn't matter what we do.
No, it's kind of like therapy. You don't really remember what happened when. You just like blurt out like, this is what I remember, and then this, and then that. Like,
I just counted. I think there was 8 different perspectives.
oh my gosh,
There was Millie, Stacy, Dana, LaFonda, Des, Eric, Eunice, Mr. Masson, the twins.
Oh
the kids,
yeah,
the children.
So that's 9 right there.
Yeah, there's 9. Are we missing anyone?
There was one where it was Max and Julie. If that was
Max.
That's Max and Jane.
Jane.
And then,
yeah.
So there was one with Max and Jane, and then there was one completely independent of Max. Mm-hmm. So that's 11 different dedicated point of views.
Yeah. It was too many. There were too many.
And a lot of them
views.
overlapped. Like, it would be like Eric, and then about halfway through his version, it started talking about stuff that was happening with Des. Then the next chapter would be Des rehashing exactly what Eric had just said through her perspective. It's a lot.
Yeah. I honestly spent the whole book just thinking about, like, how the house looked. Because
I know.
I was confused.
I couldn't.
I know.
I didn't know where the hallway was.
The floating hallway.
I know. And the fact that they were like, Dana was scared to walk on it. I was like, what is this floor made of? Like, I'm picturing just like just plywood, just in midair. You know what I mean? Like, what is happening? I don't know how they make their homes in Texas. I know they don't have basements, but like floating hallways. I don't know.
I think it's a good thing that this house didn't have a basement, because if there was a basement, a lot more people would have been murdered.
Yes.
Fun fact, almost nobody has a basement in Texas.
Why is that? Do you know why, Scott?
Well, yes, he does.
It just has to do with the geology. Like, it's so expensive to like dig into the ground there. It's like everything's so hard. Like my sister married a Texan, and when his parents came up for the wedding, that was the first thing that he wanted to do whenever he went to someone's house, is just go to see the basement, because it was such a novelty for them.
Fascinated.
Yeah, literally, his parents were like, "Do you have a basement?" Like, yeah, I do. Like,
You
A
should
whole
change
half
it.
of my house is underground.
You should change that tone. You should bring it out as a flex. Like, yeah, I do have a basement. We do.
what do you have,
the
a
basement.
cellar?
Yeah.
A shed.
Oh, I mean, we could use a new shed, so that's not really.
You're like, I'm so jealous.
But Kate, like, something definitely happened in our shed. I'm just saying, it is spooky AF.
It was built out of spite.
There you go.
Kate,
That's your spite house.
I kind of like the idea of a spite house, but the spite house would be like a petty thing for me. It wouldn't be like a bunch of people died here, now I'm gonna put a house here. Like, no, I'd be like, oh, you have a cellar, I have a basement, I'm gonna have the biggest basement. That's what my spite house would be.
Your spite house would be like, what is it? The Winchester Mansion, where like your neighbor gets something and you get it bigger. Like if your neighbor gets a pool and you were like, oh yeah, well I have a whole like fucking waterfall.
The funny thing is, I don't even swim, so I'd be like, it's just for the look.
I'm just paying maintenance fees for no reason.
I just love the like sound of water, which I do, but yeah.
So, this book
Yes.
and things in this book,
Yeah.
I feel like I have so many things to say, and I don't even know where to start. I think we have to start at the end. The end was bullshit.
Bullshit.
Kate, when I got to the end, that's where I was like, I have so many questions. And Scott was like, yeah, but it's a horror book, Kelly. And I'm like, yeah, I know, Scott. But like, there were so many things that I was like, I don't understand how this occurred and how, like, I'm going to have to find the page, I swear to God, because he doesn't believe me. But Eric says at the end, once he realized that he could save Stacy, so like he knew how to save Stacy or like bring her back to life like years
He was
ago.
hoping to.
But his grandpa did it.
Yeah, like what happened? Papa Fred, like
Yeah.
more there. What I couldn't figure out towards the end is what's the time frame? It's like 2 weeks max, and there was a week in between the final chapter and when Stacy got abducted. There was, I think, like 6 days in between. So like how much time between Sketchy Motel in the first place and contact with Dana,
Yeah.
and then Stacy being abducted? I think it was like 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when they got to the house and spooky stuff started to happen right away, they're like, it's too early for this. I was like, no. It's never too early
like,
in a spite house.
It's too much. Bye.
Yeah, I do think, though, the book was very short. I think it could have benefited from, like, 50 to 100 more pages.
Apparently not.
Just because he was in time crunch.
Whose fault is that? Okay.
His fault.
Hers.
No.
It's yours. Come on.
I marked it out for him and
So?
everything.
Yeah.
So?
I
You
was
don't even have to
full
do
mom
that.
mode.
My mother
Yeah.
was here.
Oh, that's true. His mother.
Put
mother was
it
literally
on the
here last
radio. Put on the audiobook. Be like, Mom, we're going to spend time together.
Okay, so Nikki and I tried the first night to listen, and we just, after like, I don't even think we got through a full chapter. We just looked at each other because we were lying in bed and went,
Yeah, he didn't sound the way I felt like Eric should sound. And so he was ruining the vibe for
Also-
me. And I couldn't do it.
Nikki and I have been arguing, Degener or Degener, Texas?
Okay.
I go Degener.
Degener?
The guy, the audiobook
Degener.
narrator says Degener, but I always
Yeah.
want to say Degener, like degenerous.
I was just thinking, okay, no, I can't even remember the pronunciation anymore. I got 3 in there.
But so Degener isn't even a real place.
But Degener is, isn't it?
No. I looked at
Generous.
there is a man.
Ellen?
Yes. Scary. Horrifying.
There's a man with the last name Degener who has something to do with Texas.
Okay.
But there is not
Oh.
a place in Texas called Degener.
Oh.
And also, I wanted to say Mason, and Masson was really
I'm
messing me up.
I know. Thank God for the audiobook, because I feel like there was something else too that I was like, how the hell do I say that? And then he said it for me. So I was like, okay, great.
Yeah.
I don't know, but who knows? Everything is, well, bigger, but everything is different in Texas.
Did you guys want them to talk more about the spirits at the orphanage? Because I feel like
Yeah, that was
that
glossed.
that should have been explored way more.
Way
That was
more.
the scariest scene, was when Eric went in and he's standing in the doorway, like looking out at the Spite house.
Yeah.
And they're saying, tell him to leave us alone. Tell him to leave us alone. I was freaked.
Yeah.
That was the
Yeah.
only time.
Well, and especially when, like, his, what were they, nephew and niece, the two kids?
Yeah.
They were like, there was so much build up for them. And then when we found out how they died, I was like, hold up. And I paused
Yeah.
it in the car. And I was like, so the boy was just like, I'm annoyed at my sister. You want me to
just
disappear? Yeah, I want to go disappear. And then he does. And then she gets into an argument with her uncle, and he like freaking shakes her like Lenny in an Of Mice and Men. He shakes her. She hits her head. She has like a head trauma, and then he's like, oh shit. And then she dies.
And vanishes.
Yeah, and there was nothing about the orphans in the orphanage. And
No.
Eric was like, what did he do to these kids? Like, he kept feeling like something happened. He did something to these kids. And then we find out one boy was just like, abracadabra, boom, bitch, bye. The other kid
Well, no,
was
there
like,
was more like abuse before that, right? Because he would just
No.
he would just like say, "Oh, dinner's ready," and that would be like the entire interaction that he had with these children he was supposed to take care
Yeah,
for.
he wasn't
Sure.
great. I'll give you that.
Right.
But,
Right,
like,
he was kind of a dick.
on the, I'm not saying like all abuse is bad, okay? But I'm saying on the level of this book, being like, here's your dinner, bye, is
But
like,
also the fact that the sister was like, we should fuck with these orphans. And the brother was like,
No.
I don't think we should do that because that sounds really mean. And she's like, well, I'm
Yes.
going to be fucking mean to you then. Screw you, kid.
And then he's like, "All right, bet."
she just like basically emotionally tortures him until he locks himself in the plywood hallway and makes himself disappear.
that sounds like a
of
preteen girl if
spite.
I ever heard of it.
But I understand, but I feel like the spite stuff was not well portrayed, or the reasons were not good. I feel like they also, the kids, what was the ending? Like, the kids took on all of the spite for everybody who was in the house, or why does it matter about the people that died there? Like, I understand it matters for like how
Yeah.
they got the land, but that seemed to be totally separate from the stuff that was happening with Eunice. And
Yeah.
I just felt like the lines were not being drawn, and they were not easy to draw on my own.
No.
Yeah. There was a lot of like different storylines going on, and at the beginning I felt like it was kind of almost trying to be like a Jordan Peele movie, which I'm on
Yeah.
board for, being
Yeah.
like, yeah, like social commentary, because a lot of that stuff is terrifying and it's real. So I really liked learning about the history of the house and all like the really messed up stuff that went on. But then I just felt like there were too many parts of it, because at the end, yeah, it was like the two kids wanted their uncle to own up to his role and everything, but the stuff happened before him.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like,
is that-
what?
Kind of circling back, one of the biggest things that I was really confused about early on, and I talked to Nikki about it, is Des went for a run down to the orphanage, turns around, and now there's a door and a cross, and then turns around, it does like a 180, and the door and the cross are gone again. Like it was like a...
Right, like she could see the orphanage, how it used to look, and then it was dilapidated
And then
again.
there was nothing for a lot of the book, like 100 pages. And by the time that Eric gets to the orphanage and talks with the nuns or hears the ghosts or whatever it was like, do we need this orphanage? Like, is this important?
Yeah. That's
It
what I
felt
mean.
weird.
Like, there were a lot of ideas that I felt like, as much as I don't know if I would want this to be longer, but I feel like maybe he had too many ideas for this length of a book.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I do know what you mean. It's almost like he could have had like 3 different books, but he only had half ideas for them, so he just decided to smush it all into one.
And also keep in mind, I think this is his first book, right?
It
so
is,
he's probably got a
Is
ton of
it?
ideas, and he's just
Okay.
like kind of throwing
Yeah, you're
things at the page.
excited to-
Yeah, he's just excited to get his ideas on paper, probably.
I would definitely read something else from him because I did
Same.
like the aura, and knowing that it's his first book now, that makes so much more sense.
He
and
had some
it
very
takes
cool
time.
ideas
descriptive.
for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
He could paint a good picture in my head, absolutely. I just kind of struggled with where it was all going. And
Except
how
the
much.
house.
Yeah.
No, I had the house kind of figured
I needed
out.
a map.
Okay.
I needed a
He's the
drawing.
house builder. We don't know what these things look like.
I can tell you how the spooky room was built too,
Oh no! Don't build a replica.
but I can.
Honestly, like the orphan stuff was cool, but I thought the spookiest part for me was I think it was Jane Renner, the lady who like just had her soul like left in the house, and
Ripped.
she was just like a shell of a person, and she was just like staring at people really creepy. Like to me,
Yeah.
like the whole concept of like, oh, my soul is just like left behind in this place to suffer for eternity, like that to me was spooky.
Yeah.
Relatable.
Creepy.
No.
when Max is taking her out of the house and she's yelling, "I'm still in there."
Oh god.
Oh, that really got me. I was just like, and it wasn't even a scary feeling. It was almost like really, I was really sad.
Yeah.
And I felt really kind of in despair for her.
It
Yeah.
was like a heaviness.
Yeah, big time. And then she gets like astral projected back into her own body by
For
the
only a
kids
moment.
for a
It-
moment and saying,
Oh.
"Come get me."
Yeah.
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 How did the kids find out about Stacy though? Because the kids sent Jane to Max, but I don't think because Stacy was hiding or repressing the fact that she died. How did the kids find out that Stacy had come back enough to tell Jane to go get Max?
I mean, they all must be pretty connected to like the
Yeah.
spirit
Gotta be.
realm, right? Because they're all descendants of the grandfather who died and then came back. So I just
Not
kind of
Stacy.
Stacy isn't though.
No.
So how did like,
isn't she?
No. So
No.
what I think is, I'm no expert, but I would
you
like
have a
to
podcast?
think. Well, I'm gonna say I'm not an expert on like ghosts and spirits, but I would like to think that like I feel like all the spirits and ghosts, they live in the same plane, so they would all be connected, like Scott was saying, but like they would be in on you're a spirit, you're
Your
whatever.
Your past
Well,
and
no,
your
the
spirits.
Yeah.
Grandpa Fred though, he died in the fire.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he was not Masson because
No,
there's
but
the
No,
Masson.
he
we're
wasn't
saying
massive,
that
but what I'm saying is he
Stacy
died and came
related to
back.
him.
Oh,
Yeah, but he wasn't there now.
Yeah.
He died again.
did
But
he?
So I think what Scott is saying, tell me if I'm wrong, Scott. I'm going to try to translate this in a different way. The kids would be able to like sense the death on Stacy. And I think because Eric's grandfather, Papa Fred, died and came back, it's given Eric kind of like an awakeness to the spirit realm, which is how the spirits know to go for him as
Yeah,
well, I think.
Okay.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. And like he was even saying in the book, like maybe that's what drew me to Degener, or however you say the name of the town in the first place.
This fake town.
Which, I
Okay.
mean, it would make sense, I guess, because, like, his grandpa came back out of spite. Not even like, I miss my people. He's like, I'm going to kill you and you and
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So-
I think it would have made more sense, or no, never mind, because I'm thinking about it like he's his son, but he's his grandfather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like Eric wouldn't even exist. So he's born of
Spite.
a dead man.
Yeah.
A spiteful dead man.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the
'Cause
Papa Fred,
I think
it was
that
when he was a kid, right? The fire?
I don't think he was a kid, but I don't think that he had his son yet. So his son and his son's son, Eric, and then Des and Stacy, without Stacy having died and come back, are born of a dead man because he wasn't even supposed to be alive to have children.
Okay. I did not remember that part. That's why I was like, what? Because he does say later, once I figured out my grandpa could do that, I knew I could save Stacy. And I like he says something like that, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Because Stacy, we were talking about this in the car. Stacy didn't come back out of spite. She had no fucking clue what was going on. I really liked those passages. Those were creepy, of her being like, why am I in this like pretty box?
Yeah.
And in
I
this
know.
nice
Why are
dress.
mom and dad looking down on me? Why am I in my nice clothes in a box? Why she didn't want to hide in the little foot bench in the library?
That was so spooky. And then she goes in the hamper. Like,
I
Even just
know.
her cause of death was pretty creepy, like the
yeah.
flesh-eating
Well,
brain disease or whatever.
Yeah.
I wonder if the spirits managed to get to her when she was in the water, and the spirits actually killed her, and then that was just the nearest thing the doctors could decide, was that it was some weird
Oh,
brain
like
eating
is she
disease.
payback for Fred coming
Yeah.
back to
Yeah,
life?
like that's what I was like. I was thinking that the brain disease thing was just some doctors are like, we don't know what this is, throw a rare disease at it.
That's interesting. I didn't think of that, but
Yeah.
you could be right.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I didn't think about that either. I just thought, wow, that's really bad luck.
Right?
Really bad.
But maybe Stacy came back out of love and not spite.
Also, why couldn't they have explored more how Eric brought her back?
That's what I'm saying. Because
Yeah.
it was just a quick sentence at the end. And I was like, whoa, what?
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I think that I think if this book stayed the same length, the one thing that could have really made the end better is if they would have just given Eric 3 more pages to just talk about, because you go through this whole book thinking he's just some normal dude who's on the run for something, and then you get at the end, I was trying to do all this stuff. My grandfather died and he came back, and I resurrected my daughter, basically. And I was like, whoa, Eric, slow down.
Yeah.
Slow down, buddy. And then they're like, done.
Yeah, and he's
That's
like,
it.
I'm still here. I don't know for how long because I'm getting a little tired being in 2 places, you know.
Drinking 2 Red Bulls a day. I do that normally. Is half of me connected to some other me somewhere else in the house? I don't know.
If his feet and hands are constantly ice cold, I'm going to be concerned.
Right?
Well,
Like
and
Bryce,
the fact
not him.
he says, like, oh, what does he say? My other part has to slow down and stop connecting to me, or I'm gonna die sooner than later. I need to live long enough that I can find out
How
what's
this
going on
works.
with me, or what's going on with this house. I need to explore the spirit realm. So what he sent this part of him, this spiteful part, the only part that will, I'm assuming, stay in the house, the spiteful part of his soul to the house to walk through the spirit realm and learn from the children so he can eventually connect back to his physical entity and use that knowledge to like shaman people or something. I just don't know.
I thought it was a bargain so that the kids would leave Stacy alone, and so that Stacy could go back and like have an actual childhood, and then he would stay behind and like help them, you know, sort of
Kill
get their
more people.
No, I think it was like he was helping them I guess confront their uncle and try to get him to say that he was sorry, and like,
But they did that at the end.
Did
and
they?
then
Yeah.
and then in Eric's
Yeah.
last chapter he was like, it's okay. Maybe not everyone will realize that this house is real when they hear the news, but some people will, and they'll come and check it out, and then they'll
And then
die,
we'll eat them.
and I can
Yeah.
figure that out. You know, like
How did Eric like just walk in and just ghost Hulk out?
right?
I don't know.
Like he just walked in and he's like, "Hey, ghost, I can now see you, talk to you, communicate with you. Let's make a deal."
Yep.
Other than it was
and I
protect and kill, I think is what
yeah,
he
yeah.
had like.
But
yeah.
I thought
Protect and
the deal was so part of his spirit was in the house because they were taking it naturally, like regardless of everything else. And he said, if you don't eat my spirit up, or whatever the hell they're doing with them, I will get your uncle to come out of his room.
Yeah.
And they're like, great. So he gets the uncle to come out, and then they're like, okay, we're done with you. And then it sounds like he's just choosing to stay there. Like his body could come back and reabsorb him if he so chose. But I don't know.
I don't get it.
Yeah, but also if he was born from a half dead person, because his grandpa was dead, his mom or his grandma was real, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Not dead.
Yeah. Then the dad is like half dead, half alive. So then Eric is half dead or a quarter dead. What does that mean for his soul? Like, does he only have
Is
a
he
quarter soul?
ghost?
Or three
is that what you mean?
quarters?
Like he's a quarter ghost to begin with, kind
Yeah.
of thing.
I don't know.
Random thought, but you know how Nikki Sixx died and was brought back to life?
What? Like the guy
he
from
died for like, he was like legally dead for like 2 minutes or something like
Smelling salts.
that. Yeah, I don't remember what band he was in, but do you think he's like that?
Well, he's done a lot of drugs, so I don't know.
And he's probably got a lot of kids too, like illegitimate rock star kids.
Like half ghost. I don't know. I mean, I know if I'm hungover, I feel like an empty husk. So like, I
Yeah.
can't imagine if I was like legally dead and came back.
Right?
I'd be like, "Ugh." Like, I don't know. Let's knock on wood. That does not. I can't answer you at this time. I hope I can never answer that question.
But so what about Eunice? She's wackadoo.
Fuck Eunice.
She's okay. Fuck Eunice.
Yes.
Agreed. But I hate to admit, she was the most interesting chapters for me to read. I loved every one of her chapters. I found her the most interesting to read. The entire time, I'm like, screw you, you craggy old bat. But she was interesting.
She was awful. And I kept asking Scott, because again, I think I missed it. I was like, is she white? Because she's got to be.
Oh, yeah. No,
It matters in this book. Yeah.
Oh, she's white.
She's white.
she's got to be.
She's white, and she's got a needlessly big, like, emerald ring for each finger. And she wears one on the thumb as well, guaranteed.
Ew.
She's got, like, needlessly large stones on each finger.
Is she like a pimp?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, because she's flexing her wealth all over the city.
No, and then her Apple Watch.
Yeah.
That fancy Apple Watch with like the security and everything. You're like,
She didn't even want the security though.
I know.
No, she didn't. Okay, but LaFonda,
I love LaFonda.
she was cool. I felt
Yeah.
like she could have been like more of a badass. I would have loved it when Max broke in. If she'd like roundhouse kicked him up against the wall.
Because
I would
wasn't
have
she
loved
the
that.
trainer too?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, can you not
Yeah,
you
judo
fight
chop.
this man? Literally. Or Millie, the Rita Skeeter looking lady.
Millie just wanted to like drink whiskey like every chapter.
She gave that to a minor. Like,
She's like, yeah, you're 21. Here you go.
yeah, well,
if you had a teen, well, no, she's 18. Oh, I
Is
guess
she?
she's not legal drinking age,
Yeah.
but she was
No,
Des is
21.
18. But
oh yeah,
I would be like, you need a drink because
Facts.
if you've been in that house, I think you need something. I think I
She
would
was
have
just
given
like-
it to her too.
I feel like I should offer you a drink because I'm having one. I would have been like water, lemonade, some milk. Like, here's some
I don't
whiskey.
think Millie has any of that.
Probably
Just
not.
whiskey.
She's a
Just
hard up
straight
investigative journalist, man.
But so Millie has a gun. So I was thinking,
yeah.
why doesn't LaFonda?
Well, she
If
probably
she's
does.
if she's kind of like Eunice's, well, apparently not, because why didn't she pull it on Max?
isn't
But,
there
like,
other pants or something?
Like, if this was really Texas, everyone would have a gun.
yeah,
Seriously.
we quoted
Yeah.
that part of Miss Congeniality in the car. I was like, my florist has a gun, and then he's like, Stan Hope or whatever his name is, like, my parents didn't have a gun. My ancestors were Quakers.
I love that movie.
Me too. But no, like, okay. I don't know. I liked Millie, but I feel like I wanted more from her character. She had
Yeah.
all the info, and I don't think we got enough info from her.
No,
I know.
Agreed.
That could have been, like, really helpful, A, but also B, could have taken out some of these other chapters that we didn't really need. I did like some of the POV switches where we're seeing like the same thing but a different angle, but he did it a few times. So I was like, okay, after the first like 2 times, you know?
Yeah, it gets less effective.
But yeah, like I liked it. I did like the part where is it Millie's on the phone or Des is on the phone, and then they hear Dana and like the man's voice and the struggling, and then we
Yeah.
go to someone else's point of view and we see what happened there. Like that was kind of cool. But there were other
Dana called
times.
Des,
Yeah.
I think, and then the next POV was like LaFonda when Max had broken in or something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, because we hear something happen at the house before we know what happened at the house. Mm-hmm. That was good. But I kind of wish that, I know it's like for suspense. I get that that's the point. But also, Millie was about to drop some fucking knowledge.
Yeah.
And then the phone call happened, and I was like, could you not just like wait 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Well, it's
I just
'cause
want to know.
She was about to talk about the twins, and like there wasn't any
yeah.
explanation yet, right? So like
Yeah, we
I felt
can't
like
throw
that was
that
just
in.
to prolong the tension there, to prolong the suspense.
Well, it worked because I forgot about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, I don't remember what she was going to tell her, but I remember
Yeah.
I really wanted to know.
Yep.
And the memorial and everything, which she was like, did she tell you about the memorial? And then he's like,
That was like half baked. It didn't feel as like
Yeah.
as big as I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah.
There was no conspiracy really.
no, it was just like, oh yeah, here is this rock that used to be where the house is. And then he was like, nope, this is the only place for the home. So I'm going to move this and build this rickety ass house on the hillside. Like,
How did
And-
he move the rock? He's the only dude.
well, wait, no, the rock wasn't it first in town? And
That's
then
what-
someone
Yeah, he moved
vandalized
it.
it.
Yeah. And then they
I thought
moved
that's
it.
just what Eunice told Eric, but the original story is that it was always by the dead people trees. And then Masson moved it and put the Spite house there, but Eunice told Eric a different story because that bitch was good at withholding information. It was kind of her
True dat.
forte.
Yeah, I do remember that part. You're right.
Okay.
Okay. I get all
I don't remember
confused. Yeah. I get confused because there's so many different stories and I'm like, wait, like I'm still confused by the original story. The Massons.
Which is?
Exactly. The Massons, okay? Eunice is not a Masson. She's
No, she's not. Houghton.
Oh, Houghton.
Oh,
Houghton.
sure.
Yeah. This is
Whatever you say.
that was the word that I was like, how the hell do I say that? And then he said it. It's like
I'm going
Houston
Houghton.
in New York. That street. They're like, it's not Houston, it's Houston.
Oh.
So Houghton, Miss Houghton,
You ruined the book for me with that.
well, I'm sorry. But, like, she was a descendant of one of the men who were killed. But that was the Massons.
No, she was a descendant of
Descendant of the
of
great grandfather?
Yeah.
Great grandfather?
Great-great-grandfather. Her great-great-grandfather and a bunch of other old surly white men killed 14 people of...
Possibly.
I don't know. I
They're
feel
from
like
Germany.
they were...
Yeah, so
Yeah.
very white.
Yeah.
So, killed some people. One of which was a Masson.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think that they said that they were like defectors from the Confederacy.
No, I think
they were like anti-Confederate.
I think they were on their way.
Yeah.
They were on their way to enlist or something. They stopped in what they thought would be a safe haven of Degener, whatever. And I think Papa Houghton or whatever, maybe it was a race thing.
Masson. Or not Masson.
No, Houghton. You said Houghton, I think.
This is her great-grandpa did this?
Yes, Eunice's great-grandpa
Oh my
killed
God.
killed 12 people.
14.
One of them 14?
I think so. Anyway.
Yeah.
Killed an
14.
amount of people.
14. Yeah.
One of them being a Masson.
Okay.
And then his daughter or somebody before Eunice gifted the land to the Massons, who were descendants of one of the men who was murdered.
Right. So it was kind of like reparations, sort of.
Yes,
Yes.
they were paying them off, being like, hey, sorry we killed your pop. Here's some land.
Okay, because
Yeah.
then they gave it to the nuns, Sister
Yes.
whoever, Sister
Yeah.
Mary
Peter's
Clarence.
brother Lucas?
Sold a huge portion of the land to the convent, basically,
The
to
Sisterhood
build
of
an
Traveling Pants or whatever they were.
to build an orphanage.
Sister Mary Clarence, Sister of the Traveling Band.
Sister Julia, Child of God.
Sister, what's her name in Sound of Music? Maria, Sister something Maria. Maria Mary, Mary Maria, I don't know. Maria von Trapp, when she's the nun at the beginning. What's her name?
I don't know.
Right?
Oh. No, it's not coming to me now. I feel like I knew until you said it.
I have seen that movie so many times and I have no idea. I'm gonna have to rewatch it now. Not right now, but like soon. Christmas. Anyways. Okay, so then, yeah, so, and the war guy, the uncle who died in the war and then was like, no, I didn't die, and came back home, he was a Masson?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And then he was like, bitch, this is my land. And they were like, but the children. And
Yeah,
then
the brother sold it out.
Yes. And then he made the house, and the kids there in the house with him, were those his brother's kids?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the brother and wife were killed in a flood in Florida.
Yeah.
Miami?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Somewhere?
Okay.
Yeah.
And so
But they kind of bitched out, from what I understand, from what I gathered. The flooding wasn't supposed to hit them, but then they just died.
Oh.
I think.
yeah,
Okay.
and then the kids were with the cousins, but the cousins were very old.
Yeah.
And so he was like, well, you can't be with them because they're probably going to die.
And then they did.
then
And
they
they
did.
did.
And the kids were like, this is all your fault. And he was like, they were
Yeah.
old. But he didn't say that because he doesn't have emotions. 'Cause he's got PTSD, Scott.
And this is all because this whole thing is because men cannot communicate their feelings. This is all
Here's
just
your dinner.
because- yeah. Supper.
Damn.
Breakfast. That's it.
You're really putting Scott and I on blast.
But again, not YouTube, not all men. Hashtag not all men. Yes. Okay.
Just
Get
most.
it. But like, I'm just saying, if I had a cranky ass uncle, but all he did was be like, here's your dinner. I mean, I would probably have been in worse situations leading up to that. So I'd be like, well, fuck you, dude. Can't wait till I'm 18.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, they're little kids. They're not gonna know that. Like,
Do we know how old they were?
Like 9 and 11 or something.
They know.
Okay.
That little girl, preteen girls are the worst, okay? So when she did that whole thing, I was like,
Clearly. Let's drag one of the orphans in here and tell them they're gonna disappear.
It's fun.
Just to get back at them. Like,
I'm so girly pop.
Okay, so
No.
now this is making way more sense because I already knew I didn't like Eunice, but I was like, what the fuck, bitch? This makes so much sense now. And, you know, it just, everything was slimy because she was like, I don't care. He's desperate. I've got the money. Go on in there with no info. And then later, Eric was like, I never asked her, when is my job done? What were the parameters? Like, he was like, wait a sec.
He was just so focused on the paycheck, he didn't care.
Yeah,
But I want to know how much he got paid. We never got numbers.
definitely.
yeah, they
six
just
figures.
said 6 digits.
What would
Yeah.
you guys need as a baseline to even consider that?
A lot of sage.
1,000?
300,000.
300? No, like only 300,000.
I'm just saying, if we're
Bugger
going,
that.
if it was like, yeah, if it was a week, I could do that shit.
If it's not 999,000,
I'm so annoying. Those spirits would be like, get out.
Yes, you are.
Just fucking leave. We don't want any part of you
I
here.
keep trying, but you won't let me.
We'd be watching our Wattpad movies. We'd be eating snacks, burning sage or something. Be like, go away, we're busy. Come back later.
Fuck
We'd be
off.
like, God, I'm so tired of these movies. How many afters
Kelly and I-
are there?
If Kelly and I were in
many.
there together, we'd be like, do you guys want to watch? And the spirits would be like, get out. Just leave us alone.
Oh my God. I mean, I don't think I would want to do this. If I was about to be homeless, yeah, sure. But I would be like, I expect at least $1 million. I want half of it up front. And then I could just
Smart.
peace out.
Yeah.
The old
Smart.
switcheroo.
Yeah.
Not like I've done that before, but I've heard. Good work.
I don't know. That was pretty well thought out, and you had that right off the top of your head there, Kelly.
Well, because if she's got so much money, you know, I'd be like, hey, pay me up front because I'm going to have to buy a lot of materials to get in there. I'm going to have to,
Yeah.
oh my God, my stomach. My stomach just got ill thinking about this. I'm going to have to buy a lot of sage, a lot of whoever services to come in, cleanse the space, and then I would like tiptoe in. I would probably just take my money and go. And be like, bye, Eunice. Have a nice life. Oh, wait, you're cursed. Probably for a good
Yeah.
reason.
I was very interested in her Aunt Val. Even though we only got like
Yeah.
half a paragraph, I was like, she's a cool lady. Fighting off the ghosts as she falls off a cliff. I was
Yeah.
like, go
Having
Val.
a heart attack. That was another thing. She's like, the ghosts kill everybody. But the ghosts don't kill everybody. They all die, and they just
Ghosts are
see
there.
the ghosts when they die. And I was like, so why the fuck does it matter, Eunice? Why
Right?
does it matter? Just because your mom shot herself in the head.
Oh, I
was
forgot
her,
about that.
That's her problem. She didn't have to. She could have just lived.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying she could have just lived.
Yeah. Or I was saying to Nikki, so her mom shot herself in the head, but it really messed with Eunice because she could still see terror on her face. My thought is, if I'm going to shoot myself in the head, and I don't want to do that, just blast myself direct in the face with a shotgun. You can't exactly read my emotions.
But
It's
also,
mush.
also, how do you know her face wasn't like that? Because she just shot herself in the
head.
head.
Or she saw her daughter see her shoot herself in the head.
I just...
It's all the ghost's fault.
There's so many questions, Johnny.
Ghosts.
Typical old white lady. It's not my fault. You know, like, bitch, it's your fault. Okay?
Yep.
I've got spite on my customer
There we go.
service years. It's your fault.
It was her fault because she has a house with bed chambers.
Yeah.
bedroom.
And antechambers. What the hell is an antechamber?
So many rooms. I was just like, man, I want
How
to
big
have
is-
that. I want to
Seriously,
have like that.
I wanted the layout. I wanted to walk through
Hey,
the house.
Need
Speaking-
blueprints.
Speaking of her house, they mention very briefly that there is her uncle, her grandfather, a man's study in the house, and every week she just disappears there for like an hour or for an afternoon, and then they never talked about it again.
What
and I
book
was
did
like,
you read?
this one.
I don't remember that.
No.
Yeah, I was like, I need more. See, that's the thing. There were so many things that were just like one-off pieces of information that felt like they were going to lead to real things. I was like, is she communicating with his spirit there?
Maybe they're just like red
Remember
herrings.
what you're talking about?
Yeah.
LaFonda, or was it
No,
Dana?
LaFonda.
LaFonda was looking for Eunice or something like that, and there was a study. Someone studied. It was her grandmother's.
No, I thought it was a dude. I thought it was like a grandfather or great uncle or something.
Oh, with all
Either
the
way,
antiques
there was a study, and she would go in there.
Yeah.
Yes, it was like a shrine to a family member of.
Yeah, and they were like, she goes in there every week. And I was like, what's she doing in there? And then they were
Right?
just like, never mind.
Continuing the curse, apparently. $5 says if she didn't go in there 1 week, curse lifted. Bomb. Gone.
Probably getting like blood
would've been like, okay.
transfusions or something, trying to stay young. Like,
I feel like she was Mr. Burns level rich, where she had the cure for cancer but kept it for herself.
oh my god, yeah.
She was giving that level of ass
Yes. And then she died of a heart attack. The fact that
Like a
she was
bitch.
like, yeah. The fact that she was like, we're not going to tell your sister about the fact that you almost drowned or any of that, or like you like walked out. We're just going to keep this to ourselves. And then LaFonda was like, I don't trust this lady. I'm like, yeah, thank you, LaFonda. My God, thank God you're there. Someone with sense.
Towards the end, I think it was the last chapter with Eunice before she kicked the big old can. She was like, I paid Eric more. I paid Eric more because I was hurt that he thought I was going to talk to Stacy. But, maybe in the future I'm going to talk to Stacy.
Yeah.
I know! Dude. I literally turned to Scott at that part and I was like, fuck off. Like, she's like, I hope he feels horrible that he would
I'm gonna
think
do
this
it.
of me. Yeah!
But also, I'm probably going to do the thing he's thinking of.
No, like,
He's
he's
so
right in his
greasy and
presumption.
so predictable.
God.
It's okay. She died anyway.
Like a bitch, though.
Yeah, on
Yeah,
TV.
All this
was
build up
a
for
bit.
Eunice, and then she's like, Eric. Blech.
Yeah, she
was
had
it.
like a heart attack with nothing even happening, basically. And then Eric did the heavy lifting, literally, and picked her up so that it looked spooky. So people would be like, oh my God, this house, so that more people would go and die.
Yeah. Whose grippers were those in the beginning?
What?
I wanted to talk about this. So, one of the first, like, ghosty encounters, I think it was Eric. He was in the living room, and he heard someone on the stairs, and he looked towards the stairs, and there was just a set of feet.
Yeah.
It's like, whose grippers are on the stairs? Were they Jane's? Were they Eric's? Or no, not Eric's. Were they Peter's? Were they the kids?
They
Were
wouldn't
they-
have been Peter's because Peter was up in his room.
Yeah, being a pussy.
Yeah.
But I was like, whose grippers are on the stairs?
Or were they his? Because he did see himself in the house a lot.
Oh, true.
Could
And
Or
we
at the
don't
end,
know.
anyway.
But I feel
He
like
did in the beginning, though. So maybe because it had already been, like, pulled away from him, because that's what he described. The kids knew exactly what they wanted, and they'd already, like, begun to pull that part away from him. So maybe it was him.
I don't know, but you think you'd recognize your own feet?
Yeah.
I don't know. If I turned around and saw ghost feet, I'm not going to be like, are those mine?
If I saw
know.
feet in general and I wasn't expecting
Dad,
it, I'd be
is
like,
that your feet?
So Eric and Des and Stacy and LaFonda felt like the only black people in this book.
Dana,
Like,
as
I'm
well.
glad you
Dana?
said that.
Dana as well.
I believe so, because he did mention her last name. He thought, oh, I hope she's like one of us, like before he met her.
Oh yeah. I can't remember what her last name
Cantu.
is, but Cantu.
Bryce.
Huh?
Yeah. So
Yeah, that rings a bell.
anyway, but yeah. So I was like picturing Max and Jane as what. Also, those are like the whitest fucking names
Yeah.
ever. Max and Jane. I
I
was
was
like, those
thinking
can't.
Jeremy Renner, because their last name was Renner,
Yes.
and Jane. I was like, what's Hawkeye doing here?
See Jane
getting
run.
confused.
See Jane's soul separate from her body.
Yeah.
So I feel like he would have known that they were his. All that saying, I feel like he would have known if it were his feet because the other feet would have been white.
Oh.
In my mind.
Okay.
That's what I was trying to get to.
Hold on. Let me get my mic back in here. Hot take.
Uh-oh.
Do ghosts have color? So how do you...
Okay, we had this discussion with Twilight, too. Do
Do
vampires
ghosts have color? You know, like, if you've been spiritually pulled apart from your body, is racism in the ghost world?
Well,
I'm picturing
wait.
like a hologram kind of thing.
That, but also ghosts and spirits are different. Ghosts are... Yes, sir. Okay. Ghosts.
She's an expert.
Okay. Pop off, Kelly.
I'm not going to pop anywhere. I'm just saying. Ghosts are like spirits who haven't let go to pass on to the other side, and spirits have passed on to the other side of whatever, the veil or whatever, you know?
Okay.
That's why ghosts are usually stuck in a place, because they won't let go to like pass on or pass through whatever. That's what I've heard. So maybe if they're a ghost, you do look like your physical form, but like hologram, like Nikki was saying. But like, yeah. Okay.
Okay, so just going off of Kelly's definition between ghosts and spirits, if you die and go back to life, like if you go to the other side and then come back, does that make you technically a spirit, or does that make you a ghost?
She has a physical body, and I don't think she ever went to the other side because,
So where was she for 3 months then?
Yeah.
Well, she
don't
did
know.
describe herself as being in a deep sleep.
Yeah.
So maybe she was just like in a hibernation. If Eric started doing whatever he did
Yeah.
as soon as she died, maybe her spirit didn't ever get a chance to go anywhere because it was trapped inside of her trying to kind of resuscitate her or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I do know she said, I was in a deep sleep, or I felt like I was in a deep sleep and then I woke up and I don't remember all of this stuff that happened.
But important question. Does her mom have it going on?
Well, we don't know because we never
meet
see her.
I felt bad for this mom. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I got the
Yeah.
feeling that she was nasty.
But
I
like,
don't know, like...
doesn't she deserve to know if her daughter's alive again?
Not the way Des wrote her and talked about her, I wouldn't think, because she got real nasty about Eric and blamed it all. I mean, he was trying to blame it on. What was her name?
I can't remember. Tabitha.
Yeah.
Who?
The mom.
the mom.
Her name is Tabitha.
I was like, who the hell's Tabitha?
Who?
Okay. Well, okay, but to me, I just felt like it was just a couple who didn't know how to grieve and were going through a lot of pain, and then they just separated, you know? Like, I don't know anything about them before Stacy passed. Like, I don't know, but...
A lot of marriages end after a child dies.
Yeah.
I think the majority of marriages probably end after a child dies because well, especially the one thing that didn't really make sense to me, and they didn't get into it deep enough really to know exactly what was going on, but she went swimming and she caught basically like a disease or like a virus that killed her. But they're arguing about it like it's your fault, it's your fault. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me unless she drowned. Because if she drowned, then that makes sense. You weren't watching her. You were supposed to be watching her. What were you doing?
Yeah.
She's gone.
Yeah.
But we all went to the beach as a family or whatever.
And she walked in and then walked out.
And then she got sick. That just sounds like really bad luck. And there just wasn't a whole lot into like what they were actually fighting about. It was just kind of vague, like generalness.
It was also like they couldn't agree on how to grieve her, right? Like she wanted to get rid of everything and just like put it out of sight, out of mind, and he wanted to honor her and like name a bunch of charities after her and stuff.
Yeah.
So like that
Right.
caused tension too.
And also, I think she was the only one who went in the water because it was like April.
Yeah, like it was early in the season.
Yeah, I don't remember where they were, but I was like, that's cold. Gonna go in fresh water in April?
No, thank you.
Yeah. Like, oh my
If it wasn't the weird brain disease, it could have been hypothermia.
right? Honestly.
So do you guys feel like they made the right call not telling the mom about Stacy coming back?
I'm conflicted because I really, especially towards the end of the book, I wasn't interested in learning anything about the mom in the first place. So that was kind of, out of my brain. But at this point, it had been a year and a half since she had initially died, I think Des said. So is there any good to come out of that? Because maybe the mom has like fully accepted it. Yeah. And she's moved on. She's doing something else. And maybe that's just going to tear open some horrible
also,
wounds.
That's really something you have to tell somebody right away.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I've ever been in that position, but I feel like that's something you need to say. Call her that night. Oh my God, come over here. We don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Instead of, we've been hiding your resurrected daughter from you for a year and a half while we've been on the run and you haven't heard from me. Hi, remember me? I'm your daughter, Des.
Yeah.
Do you want to maybe come and see Stacy? No? Oh, you think I'm crazy? I can't blame you.
Oh, by the way, we're on the East Coast now.
Yeah.
Or the West Coast. They went...
Oh, yeah, they went to California.
Yeah.
So
Well, like...
they're out there.
And part of Dad's soul is stuck in a house in
she doesn't even
Degener,
know that
Texas.
part.
Yeah, she doesn't care. She thinks it's already gone.
I feel conflicted because I'm like, she should know, but she should know at the beginning, like you're saying, Nikki. But also, now Des doesn't really have a mom because if she does go see her, she has to hide like half of her life from her.
Yeah.
And we don't know anything about their relationship, so I don't know if she's like, well, I don't really like my mom anyway, so whatever. Like, I don't know. I don't know if this is like a Renee and Twilight kind of situation where she just like lets the relationship fizzle out.
At the end, they said she had reached out to her mother and she was starting to basically prepare to bring the mom back into their life in case their father passed away. So... that was like very, very briefly touched upon that she had spoken to Tabitha. And
Yikes.
I believe that's why, because he was getting real chilly. And he was like, well, someday Des is just going to walk into my bedroom and I'm going to be dead.
But it's okay, because if he dies when he dies, and if they run out of money, she can just go back to running drugs on the street.
Literally running
drugs.
I feel like she could, like, be a bike courier or something instead.
Work for the government, a good government job.
Run drugs.
Being a male woman.
I mean,
running mail?
Maybe. I don't know. At the very beginning, I was so intrigued about this idea of like a dad on the run with his two daughters and his wife was still alive. And so I was like, what's going on with the wife? It never crossed my mind that it was because one of their kids was like a ghost, but not a ghost. But I was like, it also never crossed my mind that Eric was doing anything nefarious or malicious. Like, I didn't get those vibes from him because he talked a lot about his grandpa and how he was like hard and tried to instill that in him, but he felt like kind of weird accessing that part of him. But I thought
more of his dad in him.
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought that his wife was like unstable and he just took the kids from her. That's what I thought
in the beginning. That's exactly what I thought in the beginning, that she kind of had like a bit of a mental break.
Yeah.
And he's like, kids, let's go in the car. Yeah. Your mom's in like a psych ward or something because maybe she tried to kill them or something like that. No, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
See, I was way off. I was like, oh, his dad's a hard ass. Maybe he was into the, shady lifestyle, doing illegal stuff. And then he was just like, kind of brought up in that world or something. But yeah, I was totally off.
I did really like his grandpa being like, well, I didn't like the story about his dad and his mom almost dying of cancer and then him like guilting him.
Oh yeah, that was the thing.
Yeah, but I did like...
That was this book?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a lot in here for such a small book. Like,
what is it? Make something happen?
don't...
Oh, yeah.
You either it was something like you either let something happen or you make something happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I liked that kind of to an extent, but I was also like, Grandpa Fred is scary.
It's a little bit flawed. I think Eric said it himself in the book. He's like, the premise is pretty good. How Pawpaw Fred approached it was really bad.
Yeah.
Gets his son drunk and says, your wife's dying. That's your fault.
Yeah.
Do something.
Well, maybe he was saying, like, my death is ruining our family. Like, his death that he was brought back. Like, so it's killing your wife.
Oh.
And you have to do something about it.
That's an interesting thought.
I don't know. I feel like that's not it. But that kind of thing sounds cool to me.
Because she's got his cooties, because she had his kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
His dead kids.
Quarter dead.
It's
Quarter baked.
Quarter dead kids.
Oh, God.
I also, every time they talked about Fred's face, where it'd be like, oh, it was in Des's, she was talking about when she was a kid, and I don't know, a kid like bullied her or something. And Papa Fred talked to the parents and made the boy come apologize. And she said, I couldn't look at him because he didn't look mad. He looked like happy about it. Like he was really like smarmy about the kid coming.
Was that his ghost side? Was that Pawpaw Fred's ghost side coming out?
I don't know.
Because Eric had split himself.
Yeah.
Was that Pawpaw Fred's split side?
I don't know.
Mm.
All of
Lots
those
of questions, minimal answers.
Yeah.
All of those parts, I was like, ugh.
I liked the, not really foreshadowing, but I guess I liked the almost bookends of like at the beginning we talk about Fred and how scary he is and how like, you know, you have to provide for your family and like make things happen. And then at the end, Eric was kind of like going with that and like trying to make things happen. Not really for his family, like kind of in a like indirect way, but I just feel like it could have been stronger of a bookend. I think there was a hint. That's how I just felt with this whole book. Like, I enjoyed it still. I really liked hearing about all the backstories and the histories of, like, this place is, like, bad vibes everywhere. You know, like, this is not a great place. You don't want to be in this place. But, little New Brunswick joke for you. But Bryce is like, what? But
No sense.
It's a tagline for New Brunswick, be in this place.
Why?
yeah.
It beats me.
Be ... in this place.
In this place.
It's such a weird
not much here.
decision.
But I just feel like there were a lot of good ideas, but just need a little more. Maybe a little less of other things, a little more of others. But I did enjoy it, and I would read more from him. So.
Yeah. I agree.
Agreed.
Thank you so much for listening, everybody, and thank you to Bryce and Scott for joining us tonight. It was so much fun to have you guys on to talk about this. If you like this episode and you want to hear more of our bookish goings on, you can follow us on Instagram at BYO Book Podcast and on TikTok at Bring Your Own Book Podcast. Join us next time while we have another special guest joining us, Miss Tilly Jackson, while we read Circe by Madeline Miller. Until next time, keep on drinking in great stories. Cheers!
Next time on BYOB, the Bring Your Own Book Podcast. When I was born, the name for what I was did not exist.